Without further ado, let's start. This is the national championship draft, okay? We're not drafting our 10 best teams, or just can they win it all or not? And with the first pick of the national championship draft, Bear, have at it.
It's obvious. It's easy. It's the team that won last year, and it's the team that is probably going to win again this year. It's got to be Ohio State. Most complete team out there. Young Julian Sayin getting better week after week. Continue to work him into the offense and throwing the ball more. I think the backs will get better. Defense is impossible to score against. Yeah, they'll probably run up against a team in the playoff better than the offense that played so far. But how can you go against Ohio State? They won it last year. Pressure's kind of off them a little bit. Ohio State's clear and obvious number one pick.
I would have gone with Ohio State as well. You know what I loved about last week against Wisconsin is everyone's been talking about like, well, you know, has the offense really turned it on? And they threw the ball just as well or better against Wisconsin than Bama did. And we all think that Bama's passing game is an elite or the elite passing game in college football. So, you know, I agree. And then the defense too, 41 total points through 7 games is wild. I mean, that one would have been obvious. This one is more difficult. All right, the second pick. I was really hoping I was going to get the first pick because
so was I. Because I didn't want to be here.
Oh man. All right, I'll just tell you right now. I'm debating between 2 teams. And I'm going to go with this is against my gut. My gut tells me to go with one, but I don't know if their defense is good enough because, as you know, Bear, the last 4 national champions, the worst defense of those 4 has been 4th in college football. Yep. 3 of those defenses were number 1 in the country. So I'm going to go with Indiana.
Okay. Why wouldn't you? I mean,
so you thought that was obvious.
Yeah, like I feel like they at least proven themselves at Oregon. Now, the question I do have in the back of my mind, I don't think it was obvious at all, but I would think they went and answered the question, Eugene. The question I do have, though, is can they do that 3 straight weeks?
That would be interesting.
But of everyone else who's out there, like I can't argue against it. If you would have taken them, and I think there are a couple other teams you could potentially take as well. But yeah, I got no issues with that.
So here's why I like Indiana in this spot is that they're balanced. They can run it, they can throw it. Mendoza's having an incredible year, and then their defense is just better than people give them credit for. They got a lot of pressure on Oregon. Look what Oregon has done against just about anybody else. And Indiana has been lights out on the defensive side. One worry that I have is that, you know, I bring up the stat about just, you know, the teams that win the national championship have a top 5 defense. And that's kind of why I went with Indiana. But also national champions tend to have a top 15 at minimum roster. And Indiana does not have that. Now, I think that is a flawed metric because some of these players did not have those stars coming out of high school or in the transfer portal, and they're playing like that. Elijah Surratt is one of those guys. And so it's not necessarily just like, what is their composite? It is, for me, what is their depth like? So to your point about 3 straight times, if the wrong guy gets injured, do they have the depth of some of these other power brokers in the sport? You know, to go through that. Remember all the injuries that Ohio State had on the offensive line. They were able to survive those and continue to go on and win the national championship. So that would be my fear with Indiana. But Indiana is my second pick, or the second pick of the draft, my first pick. So third pick in the draft goes to you, Bear. Where are you headed?
I am going to stay in the Big Ten and go with Oregon. That's a little surprise, right?
I did not expect that.
Yeah, there were 2 teams I was considering, Oregon, and then we'll see who you go with your second pick. You mentioned the roster construction and blue chips still matter. Like Oregon's got a ton. They maybe are a little young, but they have potentially the best mix of portal and recruiting and homegrown talent. I think the loss at home maybe will be a good thing. We saw Ohio State lose a couple of times last year, and it kind of served as a little bit of a motivational type deal. I think Dante Moore, and I think learning from what went wrong and how they can maybe correct some of those mistakes, and they weren't able to get out of some situations. The offense struggled against Indiana. Now they have a little bit of a blueprint. Okay, this is what teams are going to do to us, and now we can kind of adjust and do something else maybe that aren't that other teams aren't ready for on film. So I love Dan Lanning. I love Moore. I love the defense. It did concern me a little bit that they couldn't run as well on Indiana like I thought they would. But I think people maybe have gone a little bit too far from one extreme to the other. Like after the Penn State game, we were like, oh my God, Oregon's number one in the country. They're the best team. Whiteout, they won, and they lose to Indiana. It's like, wow, they lost at home, and Indiana and went there and won. Moore looked terrible. Like, the truth is always somewhere in between, but I think we've gone from one extreme to the other. Oregon is still a very legit national
and they just didn't protect Dante Moore very well. And part of it was because they didn't run the football well. And then they turned around. I just like put myself in their practices last week, and Dan Lanning after that second half was like, no, we're going to run the ball. And then they rolled out and put 15 yards rushing on Rutgers.
Yeah, only 750 right? They're total for the game.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Here's a bonus question. Does Wisconsin score, or do they get shut out for a third straight week this week?
I'll go with 3 points. I don't think they get in the end zone. So that I was not expecting that, Bear. I thought you were going to go here. So I thought I was going to get Oregon with the 4th overall pick. So with the 4th overall pick, I'm going Alabama. Alabama looks like the team out of the SEC that is most formidable. They continue to get better on defense. Tennessee was the number 1 scoring offense in the country. And granted, that game could have looked a lot different based on that sequence at the end of the first half. Could have been a 16-14 game, and then maybe it's different in the second half. But they were able to get the stop, mainly because Tennessee's coaching decisions there I didn't think were fantastic. But this is one of the premier passing games in the country. And if they continue to get better running the football and they continue to get better on defense, then they should be right there. And then just the run that they've been on. You brought up, with Indiana, can they win 3 straight games against quality opponents? Well, we've just seen Bama 4 straight wins against quality opponents, top 20 teams. And in fact, if you take a look at the 4 teams that they just beat in consecutive weeks, those teams are 23-1 against everyone not named Alabama. So they're beating really good opponents. And I'm going to go with Bama with my 4th pick right there. So my 2nd pick, 4th pick in the draft is Alabama. Ty Simpson is so good. And their passing game has more depth. Last year was a lot of Ryan Williams, but now with Jeremy Bernard and these guys, like they have a real depth of weaponry on the outside. So I'm going to go with Bama right there with my 4th pick.
Yeah. Williams against Missouri didn't catch a ball, and then I think that's good though that they have more variety this year, because I think at times last year they really tried to rely on him too much and it didn't work. But I think again, maybe people were late coming around on Alabama. I was certainly late coming around on Ty Simpson entering the year. I think what happened at Florida State was more of a Bama issue where it was just a total one-off injuries, Simpson's first road start, and they lost to Florida State, and Florida State's no good. But yeah, it was either going to be Oregon or Alabama there with that pick, and I went Oregon just because I don't necessarily know if the road will be easier, but there's still there potentially could be something about Bama. Defensively, they do allow some yards through the air, and some guys have had some big games. The defense at times is a little sketchy, so that was why I went Oregon instead of Alabama.
So 5th pick in the draft. Bears got the 5th pick in the draft. Where are you going? This is I think I know the 2 teams you're thinking about right now.
Yeah, I think I think you know that what I know. I'm good, and it kills me because we were just talking about defense and how you have to have a top defense to win, and how that Auburn 2010 team was like the outlier in terms of defense. I'm gonna go Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you probably think I was going the other one. And the only reason I'm going to go Georgia is just because of the mentality and the inability of teams to just kill this team. They're down double digits at Auburn, come back and win, down double digits at Tennessee, come back and win, down 9 and couldn't get a stop against Ole Miss until finally they do. I would hope that Schumann and Kirby's defense would get, maybe that was the Waterloo moment the other day, or the watershed moment the other day, and they're going to completely turn it around. But I just have to trust the pedigree and everything that Kirby has done there so far. And I think that win was so massive because you're probably going to beat Texas at home now. You got the Georgia Tech game in the Dome in Atlanta. Even if you don't make the SEC championship game, which I don't even know if they care about making it. I know they were probably a little disappointed last year that they had to play in it. But I think they're going to be in the playoff, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if they're playing January 19th, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if Gunnar Stockton was in New York on the second Saturday in December.
He's been so remarkable. I mean, he really has. He doesn't have the talent that some of these other guys have, but I said this on my Monday show, Bear. He's starting to remind me a lot of Max Duggan at TCU, where it's just gritty and gets the job done.
Good comparison.
12 of 12 in the second half with a few touchdowns against Ole Miss. He was terrific in crunch time against Tennessee. That
throw to Humphreys on fourth down was ridiculous.
Yeah, and so he sits there and throws great passes when they need it most. And so Georgia's interesting. I'm with you though. The defense, they're what are they, 33rd or something in the country?
Yeah, it's something like that.
That makes me nervous. Seeing them get gashed like they did a few times, really the entire year, is jarring because we don't expect that from Georgia. Watching Ole Miss score in their first 5 possessions, jarring, because we expect so much more from the Georgia defense. But with the 6th pick, I'm going to go with Notre Dame. So there's the answer from the Monday question.
Yep.
I thought you were deciding between Georgia and Notre Dame. I'm going to go Notre Dame. With the rest of their schedule, I think they're virtually a lock to get in, because I do believe that the committee is going to look at those 2 losses that they have. Even though Louisville beat Miami, they're going to look at those 2 losses, A&M and Miami, and realize that those are, not terrible losses, in particular when you're breaking in a brand new quarterback in CJ Carr. They have leaned into the run game. What they did in the run game against USC was just flat impressive, with Price and Love running for 1,000,000 yards. They're really physical up front, and their defense is getting better. Early in the year, that was alarming to see them get really, cut through against A&M, in particular in their pass defense. But that's gotten better. And I will say, USC can throw the football. That's one of the better offenses in college football, and they did a nice job. Obviously, the weather helped them out a little bit, but just explosive on the offensive side. And they survived CJ Carr's worst game. I don't think he's going to play that poorly moving forward. I don't think he's going to give just absolute freebie from 3rd and goal from the 2 and run himself back to the 18 and throw a pick. I don't think that that's going to happen. So for me, this is certainly a team that's going to get in. I don't think they're going to have a home game in their first round, although we'll see how it all plays out. It might be close, but they're certainly a team I wouldn't want to play in that environment, in particular if they've got to play a cold weather game, regardless of location, because they can run it so well. So Notre Dame is the 6th pick in the draft, my 3rd pick overall. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.